Welcome to part 2 of the garden fence build. So I'm going to start off over here by pulling this wire out of the grass, and we'll see about getting it attached to this front side over here. I've never really worked with this kind of wire before, so it should be a learning experience. When I first pulled this wire out of the grass a couple days ago, there was quite a wasp nest, so wanted to make sure it was gone. So this wire was also given to me free by my parents' neighbor, and I figured I'd put it to good use here with the fence. So I'm gonna see about unraveling it here, and hopefully we won't have to stretch it, but if we do, we'll just look into that. So I think I'm gonna just try setting this on the ground and rolling it out. So let's try that real quick. Bet I could use our sawhorses here to hold this down. Do you ever have one of those days where gas permeable contacts are just not happening? That's today. Must have changed those things out 3 times. So it's glasses time. All right, so I'm gonna flip this piece up here and just rest it against this last post, hopefully. Okay. I'm gonna go along here and see if I can get this to stand up on its own and stay up. So far, the only thing I've spent money on in this fence build is this $10 box of staples. So they had various sizes, and I thought that these small ones would be just fine for the fence that I'm building. So bought a box of them. I'm not sure how many are supposed to be in there, but it's a lot. So I got those, and I got my hammer here, and then a little pouch to carry these around in, which we use that one while building the tiny house. So we just load this up here. Came with a free nail. Well, I wouldn't say free. I'm sure I paid for it by weight. That's gonna be one dirty dog. This is a good example of why this fence is gonna have another layer of fencing along the bottom. It's gonna be attached to the fence and scooped down, and then have rocks set on top of it. So when little animals decide to dig under, they'll hit that fence. But we'll get to that eventually. So I have the fence spread here at the end of this run, and I'm going to try and get to the point where I can hammer in 2 sets of staples. I figure, especially on the end, that would be helpful to have 2 in there. So I'll just get 1 staple out here. And of course, keep in mind I've never done this before, so you know, if I'm doing it wrong, then at least we're learning. So I think I'm gonna bridge the gap of this cross piece. Not bad. That way I'm getting more than 1 wire at a time. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see that a bit better. So I'm just going diagonal across these pieces here. Like that. So it really ties everything in. So I'm moving down here to the bottom, And I'm realizing that since the ground is here, it may not be the best way to get this in, because I think this should be done first so that the top can move up and down to cope with the ground movement. So I think I'll definitely take the top out and then do this one next. I'm gonna try this again, doing the bottom first so that the top can move around freely. All right, so I'm gonna just bridge this gap here. Coming up from the bottom was the right choice, because look, I was off by 1.5 inches on the previous attempt. So I definitely would recommend that, because you know, as you push up, it'll just fold upwards some. So some people use a fence puller, which you can make out of some 2x6s and some nuts and bolts. But I'm gonna try to do this fence without pulling it. So it may not be the straightest thing there is, but I'm just gonna give it a try here. Oops. Just pulling it tight enough by hand just to see if I can get it done. I'm not too impressed with the first run. It was good here, but then once I got to the second post and the change in elevation, the fence started to buckle some. Kind of hard to see, but kind of buckles in there. And then as it moves along, it gets worse. So like for instance, this one is definitely the worst, where it buckles out like that at the bottom. So I think I'm gonna leave this here since I've already got it attached in there. And on the next sections, I'm gonna cut pieces that are just big enough for like that span, and that way when there's overlap, it won't be as big a deal as far as keeping it straight is concerned. So maybe a little bit more time consuming, but at least it'll look better and I think be more supportive. I turned off the microphone in this scene to save battery life and forgot to turn it back on, so you get a voiceover. You'll notice that I have two pairs of wire cutters here. The one I'm using now is rather lightweight and made this fence cutting kind of difficult. The one in my left hand I actually used for the rest of the project because it's much heavier quality. I had originally intended on using my dad's fence cutter that's got those red handles, and it has a very small gap when it opens, but really cuts fence well. But as usual, I did not check my list when I was leaving his house, and therefore I forgot to bring it. But luckily, this old pair of pliers here is able to cut through this fence fairly easily, so no need to go back and get that other pair. You can see in this scene that I am now using those other pliers, and they do cut much easier. I guess the other pair was for smaller wire, and with this big wire, these stronger pliers are working so much better. In this scene, I am checking to see if this last little bit of fencing is enough to cover for the gate, and luckily it is. So bouncing this fence up and down like a yo-yo, I say something about, I hope this will stretch out, and then I start apologizing for what looks like wetting my pants. Sometimes when you're working on fence, you just can't hold it in. Either that or it's 85 degrees outside, and I've been working pretty hard all day. Let's go with that. That's when I almost lost my foot, and I thought, maybe there's a better way to unravel a fence. Let's do that later. And I walk away thinking, man, my headband looks cool. I was trying to install the fence as one long sheet per side, and it was not working out. So I've actually decided to cut pieces that are the same length as between the two posts, and that way I can angle up or down to make this more stretched out and straight all along that same piece. So I'm just cutting this at a little bit bigger than the distance between the posts. That way I can angle this a little bit to straighten things out. So I'm just using my wire cutters here to go along this fence. Okay, let's get this set up here and start stapling it in. So far this has worked out much better than trying to do this in one long piece. That was not working out very well. I'm really excited to have a garden next year. Didn't get to have it this year, and I'm kind of bummed out about that. But we were a little bit busy, so. Okay, see if I can get this bottom piece to stretch out well enough. There we go. Let me walk around here and show you the current progress. So I've got the fence up here on this first side, and it's much better than it was on that front side over there. So you can see a lot better here how things look. Now there's still some bow in there you can see, but it's so much better. So got 2.5 sides done now. We'll be moving on those last 2 sections down there, and I'm not sure I have enough fence to make it on the back side over there though, so I may have to buy another 25 feet or so, but that'll be all right. We'll use it whenever the goat's pen is when it's time for that. Last year I planted a garden, and I had some garlic to come back up this year, and it survived all of the grading and the house stuff, so I thought I would dig it up and see what it looks like. One problem is I hit it with the weed eater, and I'm not exactly sure where it is, but I've got the shovel, so we're going to start digging and find this piece of garlic. It's somewhere in this patch here. Where are you? There's some of it right there. So it's going to be hard to find being that close to the ground. Aha! I think I found it. That is definitely it. So when I planted this 2 years ago, it was just one little clove. So now I'm guessing it's got several cloves in there. I've never grown garlic, so I wonder if you leave it in the ground several years, if it gets bigger and bigger. I would assume so. Huh. Well, yeah, definitely got several cloves on there. Cool. Well, that was fun. My first time to harvest a garlic. Not much, but we'll definitely make some good scrambled eggs for the next couple of days. I went online looking for some of those really attractive metal caps for 4x4 posts, and the metal ones were a little bit expensive, like $3 most places. So I went to a site that had these plastic ones for $1, and I thought I would give these a try. Probably not necessary, but they'll just give the posts kind of an attractive look, and I guess as snow and rain over the years lands on the posts, it would rot them faster or dry them out, whatever happens, but this will hopefully allow the posts to last a little longer. So let's go down here and put these on. Kind of interested to see what the tolerance is going to be on these, because some of the posts have split and cracked. So I want to see how well these are going to fit on here. Well, that's really nice. Just tight enough, I believe. Let's move on to the next one. Now, if I find that the wind is going to blow these off, let's see, that one's a little bit tighter. No? Yeah, if the wind blows these off, I'll just put a single screw here and just hold it on. But for now, I'm going to try it without and see what happens. Some of these have a little bit of fence in the way, but yeah, I'm afraid I may have to put a screw in some of these because it's kind of loose. I was noticing that the inside of these caps have this metal, or not metal, plastic spike, and I wanted to see what would happen if I hit that with an adjustment tool, if it would help lock that into place, or if it just, you know, what would happen. So let me see here if I can find an adjustment tool. Here's one. Nah, doesn't do anything. It just bends that little plastic piece. Screw is definitely the way to go. So that step is definitely not necessary, but I don't know, I kind of think it adds a little bit of class to the fence. You might recall that about 60 videos ago, I made a product review for a company called Fence Armor. They make these. It's powder coated stainless steel 4x4, 6x6 fence post protectors made for weed eating around your posts. It's got rounded edges and it's a nice solid metal, so kind of saves your weed eater and saves your posts. So they gave me plenty of extras, so I'm going to use them here in the garden, and I did promise them that I would do a longevity video. So next year I'll be weed eating against these a lot to see how well they hold up over time. So I'm going to get these installed and then we'll move on to the next step. Now when you buy these, you can get 2 plates that'll cover front and back of the post, but for this application I'm just going to be installing on one side here. And the screws use, I believe it's an S3 with a square head on it, so I get those stainless steel screws put in. Now I was thinking about this product. It may not be the most practical for some people, but it does add a nice look, and if you're going for like a gated community type look, definitely nice, because you can have different colors too. It's time to start working on the gate here for the fence, so I'm going to start measuring here on the short side, and that is 62.5 inches right there. So I'm going to make the door that size, and then I can come back later and put some things down here at the bottom to prevent any animals from going up under the gate here. So let's start this build. I'm going to make this gate out of a 2x4. Should be nice and secure here. Find 63, or no, 62.5 I believe is what was said. Okay. Alright. Now, I'm going to get this cut here. Now I'm going to need 2 of these, so I'm going to get those cut real quick. I'm going to try something here. Since this doesn't really have to have a perfectly level base to it, I'm actually going to cut this side longer than the other one. So, thinking 66 inches. Now this will be the pivot end where the hinges are, so that end will actually have more clearance to swing out. I think we'll be all right. I have the 66-inch board here and the 62.5 over here. So let me get this top piece. So actually, let me get the hinges real quick to see what the gap needs to be here. I found these hinges for $3.50 here. So I want it to be on this side. So if we go here on the edge, looks like you need to have roughly a 1/2 inch in between the hinge here. So let me consider that. Use a tape measure here and get the exact distance up top, which is 49.25. So I'm going to make the gate, thinking, let's see, 48 inches, 4 foot up top here. Measuring the bottom down here, this one is 49.25, which is nice. So I think once again, staying with 48 inches. So 2 boards at 48 inches. I'm going to be using these 3-inch screws. So for the top piece here, I want it to be at a 90-degree angle from the side, and the bottom is going to be the one that kind of veers off a little bit. So thinking maybe 3 screws is plenty for this. Now the bottom side is where I'm going to want to kind of angle this a little bit so that it has that slope at the bottom down here. Are you hot, Lainey? I'm going to test this out real quick before I do any more steps on the gate here. See how well it's going to fit in this space. Okay. I think that's going to be really nice. Let me get these hinges real quick and we'll try it out. Now I'm probably going to be putting a cross piece in here once I get this thing hung. So let's just get those hinges on and we'll go from there. I'm going to be using 1 1/4 screws for this piece. So let's see what we need to do here. I'm going to just place this right close to the edge so that I'm giving myself enough room to move around. You know what? Probably should have thought this out a little bit better. Definitely should have these cross pieces on the outside so that the door can swing wider open and have less of a gap in here. So one day I may swap these over if the need arises, but for now I'm just going to deal with it as it is. So it comes to this point right here, which is almost 90 degree. So I think that's still going to be plenty of room to get anything in here that I need to. And then it'll close quite nicely here. I like it. Sorry for having to blow the background out so you can see this, but I'm going to get this latch right here installed. And I'm putting it kind of in the middle of the door so that it will be able to catch anything that's trying to pull at the bottom. Okay. Nice. Now for the metal bar that's going to click in here. think right about there should do it. Okay. Almost pushed that too far away, didn't I? Okay, let's see how that works. Nice. So one thing that's come to my attention is that I may need to cut a hole in the metal wire fence to get my hand in to open this latch in case somebody closes you inside. So you'll just be able to reach around and undo it like that. The gate sat out overnight and I've noticed there's a little sag to it. So definitely gonna have to put one of those cross pieces in here. It just needs to hold it up about not more than just a little bit. So I'm gonna measure between, I believe, here and down at the bottom and cut a 45 so that it will mount up against this piece, and that'll just help it to stay up instead of sagging down. See what the diagonal distance is here. $77". So I'm gonna cut it. 77 will be at the top of the 45 on both. I've marked this line at 77 inches, and I'm going to use this 45 on my speed square here to match up the top angle here, and then just draw that line out. Maybe this isn't a 45-degree cut, hence the angle's not going to work. So maybe just have to eyeball this one and cut it down so that it will work. I was thinking about the idea I had to cut a hole in the wire to use as a reaching spot. You could probably hit your arm and scrape it up against that wire, so thought of a new plan. I'm going to make a little loop here out of a piece of wire and then attach a piece of paracord to this and then kind of run it up around, so you just pull the cord and it opens the latch for you. Seems like a better plan than trying to use that hole idea. So I'm just gonna bend a piece of this old fence around here. And then I've got some nice fancy red paracord here. Thought I would use in this. There you go. So now, I'm just going to latch this up here so that it can be used like as a lever there. Last thing to get done here is to put the actual fence onto the gate here. So I'm just going to measure this out. The gate is now complete here. I was able to get the fence stapled on here, and I was able to get the locking mechanism complete and working well. So just pop that open, and then you can close it behind you. Locks nice and tight. I decided to put the string up here on this side so that it would be easy to get to, and it actually, when you open it, it's able to kind of fold back down on itself so that it's ready to close again. So I kind of like that, because when it was over here, it was too tight. So pretty good. Now I got all the caps on top up here, and then got all of these fence armor around each of the bottom down here. So the last thing that I need to do is get this second gate built over here. Then I was 20 foot short, so this section and that section, from having this complete. So close. But I think as far as the video goes, things are done. I'm super excited to have this garden fence built so that next year I can have a great garden. Ashley's mom may want to have some plants in here, and also the neighbors up the road may want to have a spot, since they don't really have a very good sunny spot. Very exciting. Definitely my first fence build. It's starting to rain for the 4th day in a row, so I'm going to stop there. But I'm glad the fence is done. Took several weeks for me to complete this, and I like it. So hope you do too. Thank you for watching. I'm Seth Johnson with Land a House. If you have some good feedback, write that in the description below. I'd love to hear it. Hit that thumbs up button to help my video ranking, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Bye. Well, that was fun. My first and I actually had some garlic. So I'm actually finding it rather helpful to have these trimmers. What am I even saying? I don't know. Yeah.